Well, welcome everybody. I will say this later on as I'm talking. Tell me if you can't hear me. I know this is a small room, so this makes it easy. And as we were just talking, this weather might have me lose my voice, so I may get softer as this time goes on. My name is Maria Snizik. I recognize faces, so I know you guys. You guys have probably seen me around school too, so I appreciate you being here. While I wear a billion hats in my business, I am primarily known as a travel agent, as you know that title, or as we call ourselves more currently, a travel advisor. And today I'll tell you a little bit about what both of those titles mean, what all we do. It's a lot of fun. As I just said, I'm going to stand up here and kind of read from some notes I made instead of doing slides, because usually my presentations are complete multimedia videos, photos of places that we travel to, and they're usually pretty fun, especially this time of year. We're showing a lot of tropical things, and I thought, man, if we get in here, y'all are never going to class after this is done. We're not going to want to leave the room, so bear with me. But what a travel advisor is someone who's basically educated in lots of different aspects of travel. So that may mean that we're experts in destinations. The world is a very, very big place, and that doesn't mean we know every single place there is in the world, but pretty darn close, because people want to travel everywhere. The airlines, cruise ships, resorts and hotels, even renting cars. As Mrs. Lehman and I were just talking about, excursions, activities that you might do somewhere that you go, and even travel insurance. And on the second part of that, we also do a lot of sales, marketing, advertising, management, and even accounting and bookkeeping. So it's a little bit more of kind of a business aspect on that side. A lot of travel advisors will have an expertise in a particular area of the world, or maybe even like a type of travel. That could be like family travel, doing honeymoons, weddings, doing groups, or even doing business travel. They might have a special niche. A really popular one is Disney. There's a lot of people that love to go to Disney, so there's a lot of travel advisors that specialize in that. And not just Disney World, Disneyland, Disneyland in Paris, all kinds of different things, all things Disney basically. Ocean and river cruises, all-inclusive vacations, which means that everything's included in your vacation. Active and adventure vacations, and honestly, this list could go on and on and on and on. My focus, and even my company's name, have evolved over the years. It depends for me on market trends, things that are going on in the world, even here locally in our community, the economy, and quite honestly, just whatever I might be interested in at the time. As my kids have grown up, it has changed, places I even want to go, and then I become a specialist and have changed based on kind of what they're interested in, what families with little kids might be doing, families with older kids might be doing. I've even done college visits as kind of a niche for people, because travel is necessary and you need flights, you may need hotels, and you may be going to cities that you have no idea where they're even at. And just kind of that whole exploration as part of that. So right now, my focus is primarily Europe. It always is. Italy, and you'll hear that a little bit later on, is kind of my first love at travel. I love doing all-inclusive vacations in Mexico and the Caribbean. And as I got here today and I looked at this weather, and as I make sure alarms are not set on my phone, it's a crazy time of year for us, because the weather just drives people out of this state in particular. So we're very, very busy booking vacations like that out of here, where it's a complete package. You just show up at the airport. You show up at the airport, everything else is taken care of for you. Your food, your flights, absolutely everything. So that's kind of a big deal for us here. Like I said, when I talk about what's going on locally, you have to know where you live and what everybody wants to do here. And the past few years have kind of gotten me back to my roots as well with group travel. I love taking groups places, and there's so many different types of groups. It may be a particular destination that they're interested in. It could be a particular purpose. Lately, it's been graduation trips, which turn into multi-generational trips because they're celebrating this milestone. I had one, maybe about a year and a half ago, and it was a high school graduation trip. And it ended up being 3 groups in one. There was also 2 milestone anniversaries happening there, and then also just a group of friends that wanted to go. They just wanted to go because they could. It was a good time of year for them to go. We are working on pickleball groups because that is all the rage right now, and I swear everyone around here plays pickleball. So we're looking to put together pickleball groups. There's so many leagues around here. Sand volleyball is yet another one, and what a better place to play but on a beach. And also working with local businesses and their sales incentives and their winners, and putting together phenomenal trips for them and their family to be able to go to. Most recently too, if you guys saw, we took the Carroll Freedom Players, the drama club, to New York City, and that was another great niche trip for all the students and the adults and the chaperones that went. And when I call it a niche, we were there for the theater and learning all about the theater and seeing shows and all that good stuff. So that is kind of my passion currently. It evolves, it changes. You ask me in a couple months, our focus may be a little bit different. At the end, feel free to ask me questions. I've had some awesome clients and done some awesome trips over the years, and I love talking about them. I could be here forever, honestly, talking about them. So we'll get to that soon enough. So where did this all begin? How did this all begin? As you know, I'm a Carroll alum, and honestly, I had a very well-rounded education from here. And when I graduated on a Friday, as you guys do now, and by Monday morning at 8:30 a.m., I was working at UD's housing office. I was hired by another Carroll alum. She was the daughter of one of the marching band's uniform ladies, and I was in marching band when I was here. That was primarily my activity. And I started working, had no idea what I was getting myself into at that point. I thought, oh great, this is kind of like an admin job. I'm working the desk. I don't know what they're gonna have me doing, but sure sounds interesting to me. Well, that was really where I began my career in the travel industry. And that sounds kind of crazy, but what I ended up being responsible for, and I was hired by the director of conference services. So in the summertime, we would convert all of our dorms, our suites, the apartments, into hotel rooms essentially, and then the meeting or the classrooms and like all the gathering spaces basically became meeting rooms. So we would market those to internal like UD departments, university departments, but also to some local companies. So that kind of became my job year round. And that fall I did start taking classes, and I was working towards a chemical engineering degree. So I know it sounds crazy, but you guys know from being here, we have an amazing STEM department, and I had really great math and science teachers, and that's what I became fascinated by, honestly. And they really inspired that curiosity just in the sciences, but especially chemical engineering. Don't ask me now, but by second semester I'd switched my major. So a calc class did begin. I could not wrap my head around it, and I thought there is no way I can do this day after day after day. Don't ask Mrs. Burtkey about that. She did great in that calc class. I did not. I could not figure it out, but I really enjoyed my summer job at that point, and although I was just getting started in the semester, it was really a lot of fun. And I think what was so fun about it was just that aspect. We were doing so many different things, and I asked my boss, I'm like, well, what do you think? What do I change my major to? And you know, there's really no better person to assess that, like your teachers here. They see what you're doing and what you excel at and what your weaknesses are day in and day out, and we decided my major was going to be marketing. So that's when I switched, and I kept that job all the way through the summer after I graduated from college, and my roles were anything from doing marketing, and we didn't have Chromebooks, we didn't have cell phones, we really didn't have computers. So any of the marketing and advertising I did, things were hand-drawn. If we were making posters, it was hand-drawn. You were doing graphic design by hand. It was not on that computer. So we filmed commercials with a camera, not necessarily even a video camera, but just in that little video loop, and edit them ourselves. But we were also managing the conferences that came in and also managing the facilities, kind of like a hotel manager, which is a big part of the travel industry, is the hospitality side of that. So in my second year at UD, I had a little bit of a hole in my schedule. So being a marketing major isn't quite as structured as being a science major, an engineering major. My 4 years were planned out, so I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna take? I don't know. I couldn't qualify for certain business classes yet because I had just started out in the major. So I decided to take Italian. My dad is a first-generation Italian-American. My grandparents came over through Ellis Island. Always been fascinated by it. My grandmother spoke Sicilian dialect at home, and cousins, they were speaking. I'm like, well, this would be really cool to learn. Why not? And here I had taken 4 years of Spanish. And again, back then, we didn't have honors. We didn't have AP. It was just straight up Spanish for 4 years. I didn't consider myself fluent, but I had a pretty good handle on the language by the time I left. So I felt comfortable with that. And I thought, well, starting another language shouldn't be too off task. So my instructor during my second year, who actually turned out to be another Carroll alum, who is a mom who had kids that just graduated with my own son last year. And she really, really incorporated culture into her lessons. And I don't even think I was a week in, and I thought, man, I need to go there. Like, how do we not go over there and eat the food and meet these people she's talking about? Like, this is just going to be an amazing experience. So I decided I had to study abroad. And when we were here at Carroll back then, we had a couple opportunities, nothing like you guys are offered now. There is such a wide variety of international and local trips that you guys have that opportunity to take. For us, we had Spain and Russia. We taught Russian back then, so that was a great trip offered, but I could go to neither. So I didn't take those opportunities when I was here. But I decided at UD, well, let me get my feet wet. I'm going to do a study abroad. They had 3-week programs. I thought, well, that's just enough for me to figure this out and be over there by myself and see if I can handle this. So I chose London. And when we talk about like the New York theater trip, that's what this trip for me was all about. I was taking business classes, but every day I was making my way around that city. I figured out how to buy the tube pass, the subway pass, so I could get around. I figured out how to buy theater tickets on a budget because I didn't really have a whole lot to spend there. And really, really, that's where I got to start and kind of honing my skills of figuring things out and understanding truly what there was to do there. So when I got back, I was like, man, that wasn't enough time. Like 3 weeks was awesome, but that really was not enough time. What am I going to do now? Well, I kind of started researching trips to Italy since, I'm learning the language. I really need to get over there. She's the one that started this to begin with, so I've got to get over there and see this. So I did a semester-long program there, and that is truly, truly where I honed my planning skills. I was only in class till like 1 o'clock every day. We lived in apartments, not dorms, so you really had to understand where you were living. And that was the back half of my day, was literally hitting every nook and cranny of that city and its surroundings and just understanding it. And then throughout the week, my friends and I would be like, well, where are we going for the weekend? We figured out we needed a big rail pass to last us that whole semester. And every weekend we were planning trips. We had a spring break, so we had to figure out where we could go. And mind you, all of this had to be on a budget because it was not endless spending when we were there for 5 months. You really needed to make sure you knew what you were doing. So I learned every bit that I could about that city and everything that was accessible from there, almost like being here at home. So that's why I say when that's kind of my first love, that's truly what I know inside and out. There are things about that city that I have told my clients that you will never, ever read in a book. There's a place that you can go that you can see Michelangelo's drawings on the wall, but you have to take some stairs to go down into a basement of one of the churches to see it. That's not in any book you'll find, but we found all those things when we were there. So lots of great little tips, and that's kind of part of what we hone in this business, is finding all these kind of cool off the beaten path things to do, but understanding truly what your specialty is and where that specialty may be. So from there, it really wasn't until I was in grad school at Ohio State that I really inadvertently launched my travel business. I was teaching Italian classes. That was kind of part of my master's program. I decided I love this enough. Actually, I think it was an excuse to keep on traveling, is that I decided I was getting a master's in Italian. And that kind of kept me going there to take classes, these language immersion classes, just to get in there and become more fluent. But honestly, as I'm teaching these classes, my students knew. They're like, well, you studied abroad. Well, where do we go? What programs are there? And then, okay, well, then how do we get there? Can you help us buy our plane ticket? How did you do your rail pass? Can you help us buy the rail pass? So again, no cell phones, guys. I had a nice phone on the wall of my apartment, and my speed dials were all the airlines, where I bought the rail pass, a couple of hotels that I knew in Italy, some of the hostels and all that, and that's literally what I was doing in my spare time. So I thought, well, all right, I guess this is what we're doing now. It was fun. I enjoyed really doing that for my students. And I thought, man, I'm glad they think they need this opportunity like I had in college too. But my now husband was in a networking group in Pittsburgh. He was working full-time already. And he connected me with a travel agency owner there who was like, wait, what? Are you just like doing this as a hobby? You know you can turn this into a business. Let's talk. So after sitting down with her, she really showed me how to turn all this helpful advice into a true business. So next I found a correspondence school. You guys would probably call that like online learning now, but again, no computers. So they would literally send me a binder. I should have brought one, like literally probably a 4-inch binder of information. And it was about an 8-week program. So as I learned all that information, I'd have to mail in a test. They would grade it, and if I passed, they would send me the next binder. What was in all of these binders was geography lessons about literally this entire world. Airports have codes and things that we have to learn, but you also had to learn where there were major airports in the world, but mostly it was about geography, which was kind of, for me, easy, but fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So I learned a lot about that. And then I had to take a week-long in-person course to learn our airline reservation system. And if I would even, that's probably a slide I could have brought and it would have blown your mind. We were programming. We could type in lines that were as wide as this paper long, strings, and that's how we would pull up availability for flights. And now you guys have like so many things at your fingertips on the internet, right? That you can just put in a city name, you didn't have to know a code, but we would have to type in these long strings to get it to do what we wanted to do. So I had to kind of learn that in person. But more importantly, it was kind of learning about how all these reservations were booked. I didn't really know those technicalities, so that kind of helped me understand that. Meanwhile, I had also found, I don't sit still if you can tell, I had found a part-time job in Columbus while I was teaching, while I was taking my master's classes, doing this correspondence class at a travel agency. I thought, well, I have experience. They hired me because of all of my experience at UD and the meeting planning experience that I had. They actually had an agent who was going on maternity leave, so they needed me to replace her to take care of her corporate clients. So all of those computer skills I learned really came into handy, but that's where I truly learned, oh my gosh, there is so much more to learn, and everything changes like every day. And I maybe worked a couple times a week, but every time I came in, something new was happening. So as I was graduating with my master's degree, this is a very busy couple of years, I was asked to help open a new travel agency in Pittsburgh. My responsibilities then were like helping create their marketing materials, and I'll still throw it back. Everything is still designed and done by hand. We would create presentation folders that had our letterhead and told things about our business and what we could do for you, because we would go around to the different businesses in the area to try to solicit their business. But that was also the other half of my job, is how do we generate new business? You know, what are we going to do to get business in our doors? We're brand new. People don't know what we do. They don't know how we do it, what we can do for them. But in that time there, it really helped me understand, man, I think I want to kind of start my own storefront agency. So it gave me those skills I honed my skills as an agent, but really, really learned what it took to operate a business. After about a year, I was asked to come back to UD for a position that was created really for me to manage a couple of their conference centers. Their business was booming. It had changed quite a bit since I had graduated, but they needed people, but they needed tools to manage it. And after having kind of opened that travel agency, it gave me extra skills to be able to take back. I had created this guide to meeting on campus to help campus people understand the facilities, how we book them, how you can bring your group and how you coordinate your group and how you're going to execute all of this. At the time, we had the Dayton Peace Accords. That really is throwing it back into history, but boy, that was a huge event that the whole city of Dayton hosted, and we hosted there as well. And it was a lot of intricate details, down to having Secret Service detail and the things that we had to do for that. So amazing experience to be able to really learn and understand every bit of it. worked. And that guide to meeting on campus kind of became our Bible of what, really just kind of how to do things. And I love that you guys are eating lunch today, because that's how I would present that guide to everyone to educate on, this is how we do things, this is how we book things, this is how things are. They would bring their lunch and sit down, and then we would also kind of wine and dine them with catering that our chefs were creating for these different events so that they could get to try out different things too. So I kind of went back to that hospitality side for a few years. We had to create and staff like a new information center, basically like a great hotel concierge that our students were working, that understood everything there was to know about the university for these guests that were coming from outside the university, so that they would know what was going on. So again, a little back to that hospitality side, which is so important in this job, no matter if you're doing hospitality or you're working as a travel agent. So at a certain time, again, I know I hop around a little bit here, but I decided I really need to open this storefront agency now back here, now that I'm back home. And as I'm driving into campus one day, there was a building for sale. And I'm like, all right, there it is, we got it. So bought the building, and that was my true first storefront agency, and really has marked the current term of what I do now. That was literally over 25 years ago. I hated that I had to count these years as I'm thinking about this, putting this together, but over 25 years ago. And I was going to try to put together statistics for you guys, but I can't even wrap my head around it. There are, literally thousands of people that I have helped with vacations and corporate trips and just every bit of travel. I've traveled to more states and countries that I can even count. A lot of people will have maps in their offices and put pins I can't do it. It's too full, which is amazing. I love that I've been able to have those experiences. But being a successful travel advisor also means that you have to constantly be learning about destinations, these hotels and resorts, the airlines, their schedules, the cruise ships and their schedules, train travel, car rentals, where to eat, what to do. There's so many different aspects. And I don't think I mentioned I'm also a licensed insurance agent. That's something I had to do at some point in time. I can't even tell you when at this point, but travel insurance is such an important component in what we do and what we provide, just to protect your investment as that client. I could say, I bet you I know when that happened. Probably happened after 9/11, soon after, that they realized that was such an important component. When the world came to a complete halt and airports were closed, I was worried about people's safety, but of course my clients had to worry about their investment. I can't travel tomorrow, now what? Did I just lose all my money? So that's a huge thing, and something we have to stay educated on. COVID changed a lot of that too, and it also changed the landscape of travel insurance and travel in general. But how do we learn about all this? We constantly attend local and online classes. Continuing education is super, super important in this business. Like I said, the world is huge. Things change. The way we do things change. Our suppliers change. After COVID, again, I hate to keep mentioning that, but a lot of our suppliers closed. They just could not go on. They lost so much with all the cancellations, as did the local agents too. But education is important. We've had to kind of revamp who we use. And as I was walking up here with Mrs. Lehman, that's what I was saying. This is such a crazy time for us, because it's what they call their blitz season. So in just the last 7 days, I have attended in-person classes and online classes taught by probably about 20 different suppliers. It's mind-numbing, quite honestly. I would love to be in a classroom from 8 to 3 every day, and that would make it so much easier. But as I just even looked at my emails before I came here this morning, I think I was up to maybe 130 emails already, because suppliers are still updating us on sales that are going on. And oh wait, there's an ice storm. So this airport is on a delay. This airport has, halted things. Oh wait, someone's their computer systems went down. So there's so many different things that happen in a given day, but a lot of that is education right now. This whole first quarter really is about education. That should last us the rest of the year, but we'll still see all those suppliers throughout the year too. Literally, I think thousands thousands of emails that I get in a given day that are literally updates from all of these different places, destinations and suppliers. But we also travel to conferences that are held all across the country, outside the country, where they'll showcase a destination, maybe those suppliers that put together packages for that destination, even the excursions that you can do in that destination. I've gotten to do some super fun things. I've gone cliff diving before, zip lining, which I never thought I'd do. I am like deathly afraid of heights, but you have to try these things out. Listen to me, you have to try these things out. I have to try these things out. I need to be able to tell people what it's like to experience these. Okay, and honestly, I went zip lining because the owner of that supplier that I was hosted by, his mom was on the bus with us, and she was like 85 years old, and she's all in this gear, like she's going zip lining. She just jumped off that platform. Oh, wait, if she just did that, I'm gonna look like a fool if I don't follow her and go down there too. So yeah, sometimes we get coerced into doing things too, but that's all part of the learning. But best of all, traveling. We get to travel everywhere to experience this. A lot of it is, me at my own expense because I need to see these places. I don't feel comfortable saying, wait, you want to go to Madagascar? I've never been there. Like, I don't know that I can do that. Luckily, I have put together a phenomenal team who loves to travel as much as I do, so they may hit the parts of the world that I don't get to go to and be experts at something that I'm not, and vice versa. So we travel to all these great places, try to experience all of these amazing things. But at the end of the day, I'm still a business owner too. So I have these responsibilities, not just to me and my clients, but to my team. So it's training, it's mentoring, and that's part of this education. If I don't soak in all of this education, I can't help them grow their business and understand what they can and can't do. But we have to develop and market the business. That marketing degree I have used every single day of my life. I've had plenty of people say, wait, you're a travel agent? What do you do with marketing? Everything. It's so much a part of the research and the strategizing that we have to do in terms of really keeping our business open. But also my favorite thing is giving back to the communities too. My current name of my business is Gem City Travel. We did it as a nod really to this great Dayton area. There's so much here. These communities are so great. So me and my kids have traveled extensively and in the Caribbean, a lot of third world islands, so we've given back a lot when we travel there. So COVID, when we were kind of grounded and couldn't leave anywhere, nothing was really open for us to go to, we kind of switched back and really found our community here. Why we changed our name, but we do a lot, as you guys know too, for the Carroll community, but in the whole Dayton area. We love helping, we love educating, we love planning travel, a little bit of everything. So if we take it to my educational journey and like how I got here and what I'm doing today, I'm going to tell you, and you may hate to hear it, it started in my English classes across the hall, honestly, where I learned truly how to write with purpose. That's another thing that I literally do daily. Those skills have never failed me. I tell my kids this and they'll be like, no, you didn't. And you don't want to write that paper. Wait, my first year was writing poems this weekend I don't even know these genres. I don't even understand them. I had to look them up just to even understand. And I'm like, you know what? As I'm looking at these 3 lines, it reminds me of writing social media posts right now. You have to be pretty darn creative for your business. It's kind of fun personally to be able to post out there, but man, when you're a business, you've got to get that. You have one shot. You got a couple lines, so many characters, so you've got to figure it out. Truly those skills. I write blogs. The professional correspondence that I have between my clients and between CEOs of companies, the suppliers that I use, it has to be good. It has to be good. Texting has kind of changed us. We don't write in complete sentences. We don't think in complete sentences anymore, but that really gave me a basis to do a lot of what I do on a daily basis now. So if you don't like your English class, I assure you, no matter what you do, it will come in handy. It will come in handy. That's just how business is nowadays. But my college level business classes help me with all the other stuff. I'll call this the tedious stuff. So we didn't have laptops when I first opened my storefront agency. I had a PC that I couldn't afford to buy a second one at home. I had just started a business. I was dragging that PC home at least once a week because I needed to do payroll. It's when we have to do our bookkeeping, but my business classes really helped with that kind of stuff too. Forecasting, all of that. the bookkeeping and accounting are my least favorite. I just don't like that kind of stuff. Maybe that is that whole calc class all over again. Maybe it's just math in general. I don't know. I used to love it, but it's just tedious work, but we have to do it. So that helped me understand how that even works. I've taken project management courses because when you're working with groups, there are so many details that are involved in executing that group, from taking payments to working with the suppliers and all the little details of the trip, that you almost have to lay it out as a gigantic project and tackle it from there. So those skills have helped me with that too. The marketing, the research, and just understanding what's going on in the world. Like I said, I get 1,000 emails a day. I have to quickly siphon through what I need and what's important to the changes that are happening and what I need to take in for my clients right now. But lots and lots of travel. Travel is really, truly where I have learned just about every detail that there is for me to be successful at honestly what I do. But honestly, community, that's a biggie. You guys have that here at Carroll. That has never left me. I've appreciated being part of this community now that my kids are here and not here anymore. But it really, really taught me and continues to teach me that creating community for my own team, my business's own team, but amongst my other travel advisors, they're not competition for me. They're smart people who are well-versed in maybe another part of the world or another niche, or wait, maybe they tried something out in that advertising that I haven't tried. Wait, what are they doing now? That looks pretty cool. Maybe I should try that in my own market. That's part of that community. We have a free-flowing, both ways, just transferring that information to each other, and thank goodness for social media. That's how we keep up on a lot of it. But we have, if you would look, and I know Facebook isn't necessarily for you guys at your age, but for us, it's where we have groups and communities too, and exchange these ideas just so we can continue to get better at what we do, honestly. And really, even amongst my clients, I think that's half the fun of doing these groups. It's creating that community. When we had that group a few years back that ended up being these 3 little subgroups, it was knowing each individual community, but then it created a whole new community because they like to travel together and they didn't even know each other when they got there. So that's half the fun too. So that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have questions. It really is a fun job. So I could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, honestly, about what I do and all the fun things. So I'll turn it over to you guys. You have anything? Or you're like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. I don't know that I ever want to do this. Go ahead.
Do you recommend me to study marketing?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you recommend me to study marketing?
I don't know that necessarily it has to be marketing. I think almost any business degree would be helpful, just because business in general, if you're a business major, you're gonna have to take all those core courses. Marketing was interesting to me because that's what I was already doing in that job. And as I look back on it now, I'll be honest, it's a good bit of this job too. If you don't know how to market your own business, there's so many travel advisors. We have a team, we have an agency, but a lot of people are independent. My best colleague, my coworker, she's part of my agency, but in a way she works independent. So I do a lot of the marketing for her, but she has to do that too. So it kind of teaches you how to do that and understand, again, as things are evolving, how to adapt. So it's kind of a good, I would say, well-rounded major for it as well, but almost any business degree really would give you a great background in just understanding if you're going to run your own business, which a lot of us do, then yeah, helpful. I think marketing's the most fun, I'll be honest. You get to do so many different things. Part of that research, and I walk around anywhere and I'm like, oh man, this is like a research project waiting to happen, because you really are constantly looking around and evaluating things and how they're working. And you have to do that daily in your business. If you would have asked me 2 months ago what my niches are, what my focus are, it changes. And I constantly think about it too. I constantly think right now that my website needs drastically changed because of changes that have happened, and I need to get to that, so, but you're always thinking about what is forward facing, and that is a good bit of marketing. So, yeah, good question. Anything else?
Okay, I don't know if this is related or not, but during your job interview, what should I say or do? How would I stand out in a job interview?
How would you stand out? Really, before you even go into that interview, I feel like you need to assess your skills. And maybe you need kind of that third party, whether it's a teacher, a mentor, or somebody, to really go down and tell you what you're good at. And that doesn't mean that's all you're going to talk about during that interview, but you need to match that with, say it's the travel job, so that person understands that you may be skilled in whether it's marketing or presenting yourself, the confidence that you have as you tackle a new job, that maybe you're detail oriented. The details that we have to understand in this job are unbelievable. That's usually what makes my head explode every day when you really break it down. But, find those skills, see what you're good at truly, and then really that's what you're going to present to them. But there's a long list and a short list, and I don't know that I could even give you very specifics. It's, when I have hired people in the past, I will tell you my favorite hire. She's a long time friend of mine. She is a police dispatcher. That's her primary career. She's been doing that as long as I've been doing travel. And she came to me like, I'm going to be retiring soon. I really want to learn more about the travel business because I'd love to do this. She's also a very good client of mine. So, and I know when I've booked trips for her, she's very, very, very educated. She makes sure she understands what she's asking for so that she knows that, we can have a two-way conversation. But what has made her great at working in travel as I've trained her is I haven't had to do much training. She's so detail-oriented being a police dispatcher that it's almost like a natural thing. So think about your skills. And again, if you don't know, ask a mentor, ask one of your favorite teachers to see what they see in you, because you may be able to take those skills. I'm always happy to answer that question too. You have your list of skills. I can probably tell you how that applies to this job. There is so much that applies to doing what we do, that I'm sure there is many things that you are good at, but that would be what I look for, is trying to understand if it's something, you're going to be able to do. I have not hired people because I have not seen their genuine self kind of present itself, where they just want to travel. That's all they can think of. They just want to travel. They think this is going to be a fantastic job because, wait, you get to go everywhere. It's a lot of hard work too. So, that's primarily. I mean, again, I could have a list of skills a million miles long, but you've got to figure out for yourself what your strengths are and make sure that person sees it, for sure. That's a great question.
What kind of skills would you recommend for someone going into business and marketing?
Going into business and marketing? Honestly, having an open mind. That's a big one, because things change so quickly in our economy, in the business climate, that you have to be able to adapt. So having the open mind, being able to accept change and understanding how to adapt with that change. Boy, that's probably the biggest, I would say, in any business, honestly. And and then again, it's, same going back to your question, it's understanding your skills and your strengths, but also your weaknesses. You've got to know what you're good at and what skills you need to hone as well, if that's going to be a part of the business that you're in. Marketing's a lot of fun, because I think it changes so much. Not that accounting and bookkeeping aren't fun, but that is very black and white. It is paper, it is structured. You have to know you do have to know what you're doing there. You have to understand that. Marketing, because it changes so much, and I could do this in any business. I've worked as a consultant. I've mentored new agents in just trying to get their businesses started. I've worked with veterans who are like, social media. I have a flip phone. I don't even know how to work that, where you are literally just adapting as things go. You guys are a great generation, I believe, for marketing. And you see a lot of influencers out there right now who don't necessarily have the marketing skills, but they have figured it out. They figured out what their expertise is, what they want to represent, and they are making sure they understand every single detail about what they're an influencer for. So that's just really part of it, honestly. It changes so quickly. It's just being adaptable and willing to adapt. Not everyone's willing to adapt. I have worked with agents who have been in the business much longer than me. They've got probably 20 years on me. And if they couldn't adapt, I will say they're not open anymore. COVID closed them because it was way too hard for them to wrap their head around how can I make my business continue to move forward. So you have to figure out a lot of that stuff, but marketing is all about that, really. Understanding something, how to adapt to it, doing the research to understand also what's going on. Is what I'm doing still working? And if not, I've got to figure out how to make it work again. So that's a good question. You're making me go back to my roots. I talk about the things I do in marketing literally every day of my life, but a lot of people just don't realize that for this job, that is literally a daily occurrence. Daily. I don't sleep at night thinking about the marketing and the advertising and things and how we need to adjust things. And yeah, if what I've got out there is working or if what I'm putting out there is working. So yeah, for sure. Anything else? Has anyone ever done one of the school trips abroad? Not yet. Yeah. Yep. I was like that when I was here. I just didn't, I don't know. I don't know if it was partly we just had the couple opportunities and they didn't work for me. But as time went on, that changed. I have a hard time not traveling. When times were different, I was gone all the time. It was probably every other week. But I felt that was so necessary for my business to make sure I understood everything. And I think just if you're a business major in general, that is almost parallel to that. You have to understand what's going on in your community, in your economy, in the world economy, everything that's going on. You have to, or your business really can't succeed. I mean, that goes to even being a restaurant owner. A lot of things changed for them too in the last few years, and we're very parallel in that regard. So,
How do you handle work-life balance?
Oh man, that is so hard. It is so hard. That goes back to the skills of almost being that project manager. You almost have to approach it with wow, I've got to make sure I'm spending enough time doing everything I need to do. If you guys know me, you know I am usually here a lot. There's a lot of things that I do at school because when my kids are here, man, I feel like I need to be involved. But this job in particular, is literally, it can be 24/7. If I have people traveling, especially in the middle of an ice storm, I don't sleep. I'm watching their flights. I'm making sure they can do things. But I have to be equally as available for my family. I'm a sandwich generation right now, so I'm taking care of my 89-year-old mom. But like I said, I've got a college freshman and a Carroll freshman too, so it's a lot, and I'm married. This is, it's hard. That is a really, really good question. I have to maintain my health physically and mentally. So there's things that I do that are completely unrelated to travel. I always have to say it. So I have a Peloton bike and I have a tread. It has become literally my lifeline. There are 5 of us Carroll alumni that get on together, and we literally have a group chat that we probably talk a billion times a day. I get more messages from them than I do my suppliers, I'll be honest. But they are all in equally stressful industries. And I think we're just at that point in our lives where that's just where we're at in our careers too, so it's hard. We all have kids that are kind of similar aged, or just a hair older, even a hair younger. And that has been our lifeline, is just making sure we'll talk about that community again. It's not just that Carroll community, but boy, that's where it started, and these guys are still that Carroll community. We talk, we keep each other moving, we check in on each other. You're making sure you're doing an equal amount of things for yourself, for self-care. I know that's such a huge go word right now, but you've got to just make sure you're doing things that are relaxing. Me, by giving back to the community, is huge for me. And Mrs. Whites knows that. I do spend a lot of time here. I love to give back to this community. You guys know I coach cross country. I coach track too for the little kids, the K through 8, and that's part of it. It's a little crazy, but it is my break when I can come to practice. And people think it's tedious, and I'm like, gosh, no, and that's part of that Peloton group. It's our physical great break from all the mental work that's happening all day. And as for the family, work balance too, you guys know, if you know me and how I'm here with my kids, that's my priority. If I have people traveling, that's a whole nother thing. My phone is attached to me, my laptop's in my backpack. It goes with me everywhere if I know I have to take care of my clients, but I might have it at a track meet and I might have to pull it out and work, but I am there and I am honed in on family life too. So if you ask me what my week has been like, I have been absolutely everywhere between the two kids, and I was up at OSU for a little bit today too with the college freshmen, so you have to. But I had to stop because I had clients that were getting ready to travel and we're watching the ice storm, so we have to have those conversations too. So you've got to do for yourself and your family as much as you're doing for your business. And as a longtime business owner, that's a really tall task, a very tall task, but that's part of what you have to figure out as time goes on. I'm much better at it now. And now that we have the technology, like I said, having to drag that PC home every Friday so I could do my payroll and paperwork and stuff, and the bookkeeping was insane. But with I sound really old, don't I? The evolution of laptops and tablets and phones, there's so much we can do, but that almost makes that work-life balance even harder because you're attached to your technology so much more often. It makes it easier that I can tackle things quicker, but on the flip side, I have to shut things off. I now work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, at least that's what I tell my clients and my coworkers. That doesn't always stand true.
Do you stick to that?
I try to stick to it honestly for certain things, but then you learn to triage what you have coming in. So I really will only tackle emergencies of people in travel. I've had people text me on my personal text at 10:30 on a Sunday night, like, hey, what are your thoughts on some trip? And I'm like, it is 10:30 on a Sunday night. I assure you I am still up trying to figure out my week and understand what's going on, cleaning out my inbox, all of that. But, if it is not somebody who's literally traveling, I'm not talking to them. That can wait till 8 o'clock Monday morning. So, yeah, it takes a lot of just being organized and understanding and I could say prioritizing, but I really call it triaging because you have to really push through what's important first, and then the layers just keep happening, keep growing. So, yeah.
So traveling is great and there are all these pluses, but is there anything that's like really frustrating that you have to deal with on a regular basis that not many people think about? Boy, this is going to sound terrible, but it's working with people, right? Like, you guys think about it. You're not friends with everybody. Could you talk to everybody? Probably, but that's complicated. That is complicated. I have fired clients before because we just don't mesh. Difficult ones that you're going nowhere with, and passed them along to my colleagues and they went nowhere with, and that's probably the most frustrating because I hate having to kind of give up on people, especially. What's frustrating are things that are completely out of our control. In any business, you're going to have that. But if there were two things I would name in my career that kind of just blindsided us was 9/11. I always had a TV on. I watched it unfold, and then I had to flip the switch and say, now what do I got to do? I have people all over the world right now, and they don't even know this is happening because they're in time zones behind us. As I sat there, and again, nothing's electronic, so I didn't have a database. I am pulling files in my file cabinet trying to figure out how to tackle that. That was probably one of the most frustrating things because airports were closed. People couldn't travel. They couldn't do things, but they still had to get places and conduct business. One of my favorite clients, he was a caddy for an LPGA pro, several LPGA pros actually, and he was in Portland, and they were getting ready to fly across the water. They had a bunch of Asian tournaments they were headed to. And, tournament finished on a Sunday. This was on a Monday, and that happens. And I'm like, he's 3 hours behind us. I know he's not turned that TV on because that flight doesn't leave till later. And that was the hard part, is you're telling people about a tragedy that just happened, but then you had to put the business hat on and flip, and say, and now what? How is this going to work? I've got to redo everything. COVID was that other event. I was not although it trickled in, I was not expecting that it would do and have the impact that it did on not just my business and my industry's business, but a lot of, you guys know that, a lot of local businesses and, places just flat out closed. They couldn't handle it. But I did not sleep for 72 straight hours because I had a spring break group that was getting ready to leave on that Saturday. And it was a gigantic graduation spring break group that was 2 years in the making, where I had traveled to the destination, done all this work. Huge group. They were leaving on that Saturday, and we had already been talking about it. The country they were going to wasn't closing, but everything else around them was, and they were actually based out of Chicago. So things were happening in the bigger cities on a different scale than they were happening for us here. And so many things that were out of my control, and that was so incredibly frustrating because I felt I couldn't do right by my clients, because even what the suppliers were doing, they weren't canceling, they weren't giving refunds. That particular group, it took me almost 9 months to get all their money back, just because, again, these suppliers this had never happened before. We had no idea. And those are things that frustrate me. I tried it. You have to, in almost any business, be in control of everything that you're doing. So you have to be well educated. You need to understand your markets. You need to understand how to manage things. But when things happen and you're not in control of them, it is incredibly frustrating and very difficult. There is not a day that goes by. I could literally, vividly still tell you in both of those instances what I did within a certain day period in COVID, actually still up to today, the years of things that we had to do to try to make things right for customers. And none of it was our fault. None of it was also in our control, but we still have to try to take control of it. And that's frustrating. And you guys, I'm sure in your daily experience as high schoolers, there are things that are out of your control, and it's trying to sit back and figure out how you can take the reins, right, and move forward. So, yeah. I try not to get too frustrated, though, because I think about all the good places I get to send people and the good things I get to do and teach people about, and new things they get to explore and new opportunities. So, we do our best. So,
Do you guys have any final questions? You have been absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank
so
you.
much for joining
Thanks for
us
having me.
today.
Thanks for coming and having your lunch with me, guys. Good to see some friendly faces again, too. Good luck. If you guys ever have any questions, certainly reach out, let me know, whether it's about business or the travel part of it.